G'day everyone, welcome to another CSBP Fertilisers Market Update. I'm Grey Johnston and joined as ever by our Sales, Strategy and Reliability Manager, Ben Sudlow. Hello Ben.
Good morning, Grey. How are you going today?
Very well, thank you. And we've finally got some news as it relates to the Indian tender. It's been coming, and now it's come.
Yeah.
Fill us in on sort of what's happening, and we're still in a little bit of limbo, it seems.
Credit to the Indians. I reckon they've won this one. If you remember, they propped the urea market up for months on end by continuing coming in and mopping up all the tonnes available, and then they've just held out of the market for the last many weeks. With the anticipation they've come, the pressures then come onto the producers to keep dropping the price, and the prices have slid. You know, from the peak, they're down about $80 from the peak now. It's quite significant, and even in the last couple of weeks, the non-announcement of the tender has really just seen prices continue to slide. And since we last spoke, they're probably down about $20-25 a tonne, and they'll continue to slide through to mid last week. And then Wednesday last week, finally they came and announced a tender for 1.5 million tonnes. The two significant timing points on that is that the tender closes on the 8th or 9th of April, but it's also got a delivery window through the 12th of June. That's a long period of time for suppliers and traders to say, okay, I can now position cargoes for all of April, May, and even the first half of June, pretty much. So the market response to that is, okay, probably prices started sliding down, and then that's probably seen them just halt at the back end of last week.
This starts to become very relevant to our market. Clearly, us and probably the other players in Western Australian market are purchasing urea for delivery at that key seasonal window now, and we're purchasing really with, I guess, as you say, there's a little bit of support in the relevant global price, but until we get the final outcome of that tender in the next week or so, a little unclear around whether the ultimate direction of price will be stable, up or down. Have I sort of summarised that correctly?
Yeah, as we've said before, Grey, typically the tender tends to over-exaggerate movements either one way or another. The speculation is China coming to this tender, for example. How much do Iran supply into the tender? With those two things at play, you don't really know until you get to the tender time. And look, the current sentiment is, well, maybe that sees prices jump up a bit, or maybe it sees them stay flat and maybe drift down. But at the moment, it's a bit of a limbo land until that time.
Okay, but ultimately, since we last caught up, the CSBP price of urea has dropped about $30 a tonne available in the market, and that really reflects actual purchases that we've been making and making available to WA. Very difficult to predict whether pricing will go up or downwards from here, but certainly there are some relevant prices in the West Australian market at the moment for farmers who would like to take a position of product, and maybe that is a sensible play from a hedging perspective.
One thing's for sure, there is a lot of urea that now needs to be purchased to be put on ships to arrive here in May and into June. They're happening now. It makes it sensible for us and therefore for our customers to think maybe it's time that we start buying a portion of our urea for that post-seeding application.
As much clarity as we can provide there on what's happening in the global nitrogen market, and I guess we'll watch it very carefully over the next couple of weeks to see what the outcome, ultimately the pricing outcome of that tender is.
Exactly, Grey.
Moving on then, I guess local availability of other products. We've been talking birth congestion and birth closure. The closure's upon us now, and we've still got product to meet the market in the near term and the foreseeable demand in the cropping phosphates. Is that the right summary?
Yeah, so all the shipments have gone away from Kwinana, gone out to the outer Perths, unload as much as they can, then heading back to Kwinana to wait until the berth reopens on the now 7th and 8th of April, and then manage what the congestion that will come as a consequence of that. Right now, with demand of cropping compounds out of our sheds, as you well know, Grey, is very strong at the moment, but probably as it should, given the where we are in the season. A little bit of rain around when it was a couple of weeks ago, and I know the wheat belt the southern parts of the wheat belt and eastern part of the wheat's got a little bit of rain over the weekend gone.
Okay, look, we've covered the main sort of market element really that is at play at the moment is urea, and done a good discussion of what's going on globally and then how that relates to pricing locally. And clearly we talk product availability of phosphates. Collections continue to ramp up, and really now we're at almost peak collection of those cropping phosphates, which is really pleasing. CSBP's extended opening hours across all its works to make sure that we're maximising the availability for people to come and get it. And come and get it is really the message. But of course, we've got further availability to contract product if there's additional volumes required as people adjust their programs. So that's about it in terms of relevant messages at the moment. Anything else we should be adding, Ben?
I think we covered it all today.
Okay, on that bombshell, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Ben, and thank you all out there in Fertiliser World. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
This podcast is provided as general information only. The content of this podcast is not a recommendation and has been prepared without taking your objectives or circumstances into account. Before acting on the content of this, you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances and seek independent advice.